Good Sunday morning to you folks there at Portside, at Grande Dunes in Myrtle Beach. Hopefully you've had a good week, and we will go ahead and start our devotion today with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. All right, we're going to read 1 Samuel 24, 1 through 4 first. And this is right before we get into our daily bread, but this is the Bible reading for that. 1 Samuel 24, 1 through 4. And it came to pass, when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. And then Saul took about 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And when the men and David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, that thou mayest do unto him as it shall seem good unto thee. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privily. And then verse 14 through 18, we will read that. 14 through 18. After whom is the king of Israel come out? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? The Lord therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. And it came to pass, when David made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, that Saul said, It is thy voice, my son. Is it thy voice, my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. And thou shalt have showed this day how thou hast dealt well with me, forasmuch as when the Lord hath delivered me into thine hand, thou killest me not. So in that situation, is, if you know that story, that just proved right there that Saul was trying to kill David, and David could have killed Saul, but he chose not to. And that's what that was speaking of. So we'll get into this for Sunday, August the 22nd, not seeking revenge. The farmer climbed into his truck and began his morning inspection of the crops. On reaching the farthest edge of the property, his blood began to boil. Someone had used the farm's seclusion to illegally dump their trash again. As he filled the truck with the bags of food scraps, the farmer found an envelope. On it was printed the offender's address. Here was an opportunity too good to ignore. That night he drove to the offender's house and filled his garden with not just the dumped trash, but his own. Revenge is sweet, some say, but is it right? In 1 Samuel 24, David and his men were hiding in a cave to escape a murderous King Saul. When Saul wandered into the same cave to relieve himself, David's men saw a too good to ignore opportunity for David to get revenge. But David went against the desire to get even. The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, he said. When Saul discovered that David chose to spare his life, he was incredulous. You are more righteous than I, he exclaimed. As we or our loved ones face injustice, opportunities to take revenge on offenders may well come. Will we give in to these desires as the farmer did, or go against them like David? Will we choose righteousness or revenge? When have you most felt like getting even with someone? That's a big question, isn't it? How can David's response guide you as you seek justice for yourself and others? Well, always powerful questions for us to ask ourselves. Just because you can get even, just because you can get revenge, does that mean you should? And it doesn't always mean that you should. As a matter of fact, it probably says more about you than it does the person that you would seek revenge on. All right, let's see if you can sing this one with me here. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, that calls me from a world of care, and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief, and oft escaped the tempter's snare by thy return, sweet hour of prayer. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, thy wings shall mine petition bear to him whose truth and righteousness engage the waiting soul to bless. And since he bids me see his face, believe his word, and trust his grace, I'll cast on him my every care, and wait for thee, sweet hour of prayer. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, may I thy consolation share, till from Mount Pisgah's lofty height I view my home and take my flight. This robe of flesh I'll drop and rise to seize the everlasting prize, and shout while passing through the air, farewell, farewell, sweet All right, folks, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you again next Sunday. God bless. Have a great week.